Bye. Bye. Oh, oh. So I can't do the email.
No, you're going to be on live. Oh, no, on YouTube.
Oh.
Hi. Are you letting people in or am I?
Make sure they're off the internet. Make sure they're off. I can't afford to go wrong.
Everybody needs to be off. It was, you had it.
I know.
Phew.
I think that's,
Then too big strong.
no, it's not it. It's not the camera. I lost it.
No, so click on the camera. It must be somewhere down.
It's here. It's not opening.
Zoom. Yeah, go on the zoom. Yeah, now do it bigger here. Do it bigger here. In progress. It's there.
Sorry, I need to press record. What am I saying?
Oh, go ahead. You can turn it down.
Can you show me how we should be in
there is more space for those that cannot get on tonight on the Shaw YouTube channel. So if you do hear, we'll wait a minute or so. If anyone texts you or you know someone that's trying to get on, we would ask you to redirect them to the Shaw YouTube channel where there is unlimited capacity. Just going to wait one more minute to allow the last few people to come in. Been asked if we have the link for the YouTube channel. It's for Woodside Park Shul. I don't have it to hand. Let me just see if Andrea, who's helping, can put in the chat, or someone can put in the chat the YouTube channel. If you put in Woodside Park Shul, it does come up, but if someone can put it in the chat, that would be very, very considerate and helpful. We'll wait for that to happen to allow other people to come in that are no longer to be able to get on the Zoom. If someone can put it in, please, I'd be grateful. As you can see in the chat, we have best wishes from Reverend Plaskow in Israel, who's sitting Shiva, and we'll be watching this together with the rest of the family when they get up from Shiva on Tuesday. Thank you, Julian. Okay. Okay, we're going to make a start, friends. Thank you, everyone, for a relatively short notice coming on tonight to join us on this memorial as we mourn the loss and pay tribute to Phyllis Plaskow, Vega Rachel Bas Yaakov Yosef, who dedicated her life to serving our community with devotion and with distinction. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says in the Talmud that there were three sustainers of Israel. There was Moses, there was Aaron, and there was Miriam. How did Miriam sustain the Jewish people? She was the one whose merit enabled us to have the well of water throughout the 40 years that we were in the wilderness. She was somebody who was able to quench the thirst of the Jewish people, to take care of their every need, the same way that when she saw Moshe being placed in a basket at a young age, she worried about him, she saved his life, she ensured that he would be able to be brought up and to have all the nourishment and support and care that he required. So it was throughout Phyllis's life, and in particular the 43 years that she stood by Reverend Michael Plaskow's side as a wonderful, wonderful Eishes Chayil, a woman of valor. She was somebody who was able to sustain the needs, and in particular, the care needs, the welfare needs of our community. There's an amazing story. When I spoke to Michael the other day, he shared with me several stories, but there was one story in particular that he thought it would be appropriate for me to share with the community this evening. And that is, of course, the way that they first met and how they ended up getting married. It's an extraordinary story. When I heard it, I just could not believe the story. For anyone that knew Phyllis and knew the way that she worked side by side with Lahavdil ben Chaim L'Chaim, Michael, they know that they were two soulmates, a partnership made in heaven. But it was a partnership that was made in heaven, but it was brought down to earth and to Woodside Park. And how they met was also clearly Mina Shamayim, in the words of Reverend Plaskow, it was made in heaven. They were married for 62 years, but it started when they met in 1958. March the 8th, Michael was on his way home from Jews College, and he went to the bus stop, and he's waiting by the bus stop to go to Finsbury Park. And the inspector comes along and he told Michael, I'm afraid there's very few buses. You're going to have to wait, and you can only get on the bus when somebody gets off the bus. So Michael was waiting. Sure enough, eventually he gets on the bus, and the bus is going along, and eventually he sees on the bus somebody that he knew, Michael Indig. And Michael Indig, they're talking on the bus, and all of a sudden the bus comes to a certain bus stop, and somebody gets off the bus. And Michael, in his own words, his own inimitable way, said, there was this lovely girl standing at the bus stop. And he asked Michael Indig who it was. And he says it was his cousin. Sure enough, she gets on the bus. Phyllis gets on the bus and starts speaking to Michael. And eventually, after a long bus ride, she agrees to go out. I think it was the next day in Finsbury Park. And they met up and they went out. Michael invited Phyllis to go to the theatre. He had tickets. There was a television production of This Is Your Life, and Michael had been given tickets, and so he invited Phyllis. So they arranged to meet up at the Dominion where it was being held, and Michael goes, and the tickets that he had were, as he said, they were in the gods, and he takes his seat, and he's waiting, garnished. She doesn't show up, doesn't know what's happened. So he goes out in the interval and he sees this other man that comes along, and he says to Michael, as Michael Plaskow said, completely, I didn't even know this man. He just came up to me. He said, my girlfriend stood me up. Here, you can have my tickets. They're in the center, they're in the grand circle. So now he said, I've got tickets for the grand circle, 2 tickets, but I'm only one person. So he takes his seat. And lo and behold, as he takes his seat, he looks behind him. And who is in the row behind him? Phyllis. You couldn't make it up. From the bus stop to the way that they met again in the Dominion, he said all the signs were there that this was their bashet. It was min hashamayim, it was made in heaven. And I think from all the recollections that we will hear tonight, and from everything that people have said to me over a number of years, and from having met Phyllis when they visited Woodside Park a number of years ago, her kindness shone through, her care, her compassion, her devotion, and her love for the whole community. She was an outstanding role model to Gila and I, a paragon of chesed, of kindness. May her memory be one of blessing, and may we all emulate her ways in being a beacon of light to all those around us in our community and beyond. I'd like to now call upon our chairman, Mr. Stephen Wolf, who is going to read out a letter that has been sent from the family. Just to explain again, the family are sitting shiva, and so therefore they decided not to come on because they have people visiting them, but they will be watching this afterwards. But they wanted to share some reflections on behalf of the family. So I'm going to hand over to Stephen now.
Stephen, yeah.
Okay. Stephen, if you want to unmute yourself. Stephen.
And you can spotlight him.
Stephen, just wait.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. I trust everyone can hear me now. It's a great honor, as I always say, to represent Woodside Park Synagogue. It's a particular honor for me this evening because I remember Reverend Plaskow, Phyllis, Rosalind and Angela so well as I grew up in the community. Of course, it was Reverend Plaskow that taught me my bar mitzvah. So it's many, many years of fond memories to them. And it's a great honor to be able to read to you, the community, the words of Rosalind, who wished me to convey this to you. if at any point in time I feel a little bit emotional, please, it's very genuine, so please bear with me. Rabbi Hackenbrock and our dear friends and wonderful community of Woodside Park, firstly, as a daughter who was brought up in communal world, I am touched that my mum was thought of in such high regard that you've organised a memorial evening for her this evening. Woodside Park was our life for so long, and I have fond memories, but I also have strong visions of Mummy on the telephone, comforting someone for many hours. Mummy taking food to shiva houses, Mummy arranging hospital visits, and much more. Her whole day was filled with things to do for the shul. I never ate a sit-down breakfast with my parents until I made Aliyah. That's because Daddy was davening in the morning and then would rush off to Kisharon to daven with the children. And at all times, Mum was scheduling arrangements for him and for them so they could comfort someone and be supportive in people's times of needs. If you think life was quiet on Shabbat, it wasn't, forget it. Someone would knock on the door Friday night, tell us that a person was sick, and Dad would get up and walk to wherever in the community. I would often watch Mummy go to a funeral and then go to a shiva, and then come home, shower, and get ready for a simcha. I always wondered how she did that. Many times I would ask her, how do you do this, Mummy? How do you move from such sorrow to such joy? She always replied, it's not a job, darling. It's Woodside Park. It's a family, it's a community, and we have to support everyone in that cycle of life. For good and for bad, we must make the switch and support people wherever the need takes us. Why do I write this today? In the week that my mum has passed away. In this week, my sister has a bris of a grandson yesterday on Shabbat. And today, when you read this, my son Hillel is getting married. What would Mum do? I ask myself. How can I dance at my son's wedding? Lead him to a chuppah and then go back to sit shiva tomorrow. I hear my mum saying to me, Ros, you have to get up, dress up and give Hillel your love and be sameach for your kids. She would be furious to know that I would do anything different, as this is what you do. If you ever thought Daddy was the head of the family, think again. I'm telling you now, it was my mummy, and still was until last week. The strong matriarch, the kind mother, the supportive wife, the amazing Bubba, the even more amazing great-grandma, and very much more. We were blessed to have Mummy alive for so many years. It is not a tragedy that a parent dies at 82 years old, but a celebration of a fulfilled, happy, wonderful life. And she leaves a legacy that we hope we can all follow. To our lovely community in Woodside Park, on behalf of Daddy, my sister Angela and myself, we want to say a huge thank you to you all for the hundreds of emails, texts and calls. Our love for Woodside Park will remain with us forever. All my love, Ros, Bax, Nay Plaskow. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for sharing with us those reflections on behalf of the family. And of course, we extend once again long life wishes to Michael, Angela, and to Rosalind and all the family. I'd like to call upon now Elaine Grossman, who was a close friend and knew Phyllis for so long, to share some brief reflections. Okay, Elaine, if we can just see where you are so we can spotlight. Okay. One second. Hold on. Hold on.
Replace.
No, 1 minute. Can you? Yeah.
Okay. Right. Can you still see me now? Can you see me now? Okay. Okay. It is with much sadness that I'm speaking to you this evening to remember dear Phyllis, a true Eshet Chayil. The Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, a midrashic work, expands on the narrative of the golden calf from this week's Sedra of Ki Tisa, and describes how the women were unwilling to contribute their jewelry for the creation of the golden calf. However, in contrast, the Ramban Nachmanides explains that when the women were asked to donate their jewelry for the Mishkan, they enthusiastically brought their gold and silver and mirrors. From the time of Exodus, Jewish women throughout the ages have had an important role to play in the growth and development of their communities in which they live. And this was a role that Phyllis applied herself to selflessly. She devoted herself to the Woodside Park community for nearly 40 years. She was never a person who wished to be in the limelight, but was a constant and consistent source of strength and support to her family and to the community. She and Michael were a true partnership, complementing each other and both making their personal own contributions to the community. Phyllis took an interest in everyone and welcomed everyone with warmth and friendship. Phyllis played a pivotal role in helping to shape the Ladies' Guild of Woodside Park in its time. She led by example and served as a role model for a whole generation of women in the community. Phyllis also created a warm home and was extremely hospitable. And this is something that both Jeffrey and I experienced on many occasions. Jeffrey would often talk about how wonderfully welcoming Phyllis and Michael were to him on a Shabbat in his single days, where it sounds as though he had an open invitation to join them. And how excited they were to welcome me on my arrival in Woodside Park. We were very fortunate to be offered a full set of Sheva Brachot following our wedding, culminating in the most wonderful Friday night, organized and hosted by Phyllis and Michael, with so many members of Woodside Park present. Their living room was literally packed to the rafters, and there was not a spare seat in the house. The food, divrei Torah, words of advice to a newly wedded couple, and the atmosphere are memorable until this day. We were, of course, both sad and happy when they made Aliyah after 44 years of service to Woodside Park, but so excited to be able to spend time with them whenever we had the opportunity to holiday in Netanya. Whether in young Israel of North Netanya, or as Jeffrey liked to call it, Old England, where Phyllis would always greet me with a beaming smile when I appeared in shul, or at Cafe Nitza, or indeed in their flat, famous for its carpeted floors. I will so miss Phyllis's warm personality, her graceful demeanor, and her enthusiastic welcome when we would meet in Netanya. May I extend my sincerest condolences to Michael, to Angela, and to Rosie, and to the whole family. I wish you all Chaim Aruchim, and may we only share Samachot in the future.
Thank you, Elaine, for those very fitting words and tribute. I'd like to call upon now Anna Wiseman to share some reflections. Anna, where are you?
Yeah.
Okay, just bear with us. Bear with us, we just need to unmute you.
Here.
No, that's not her. Can you unmute? No, hold on. I'll go back.
Here. Ask to mute.
Okay.
First ask to mute. Yeah, and now.
Okay, just bear with us.
Okay.
No, she's on the spotlight.
Okay, so don't just mute that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, these are words which Angela Gerber has sent me and asked me to read out. But before I start, I must show everybody what I found today. Michael Plaskow's induction in Woodside Park, Shore in 1961. Everyone can see it. Anyway, this is from Angela. In 1961, my parents got married in Woodside Park, Shore. They would have been married for 60 years this summer. I was born in 1962. I was in Woodside Park until I met my husband, Jeremy, and we made Aliyah in 1983. We had the Levaya for Mummy last Wednesday. I have received numerous calls from family and friends worldwide saying, your mother was such a lady. Your mother was very special. Your mother was our role model. Your mother was amazing. Your mother was a true friend. Your mother was an Eshet Chayil. Your mother was a mensch, an angel, and I could go on and on and on. There have been other messages. I remember your mother. She helped me when I lost my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. A quote from a lady who said to Angela, I remember one night I came to see Michael and your mother asked if I wanted something to eat as Dad was delayed. She went to the fridge, took out hard-boiled eggs and made me a sandwich and coffee. There have been numerous mentions of Mummy's chicken soup. Even my own husband loved her soup. Someone said to me today, I will miss meeting your mum and having a chinwag. Another friend said, I will miss our Friday chats, the grocery store where they ordered their food every week, the cosmetic shop, the bakery, the local supermarket. Everyone knew Mummy. The cleaning lady who told me that Mummy offered her a cup of tea every week for the past 20 years and she always refused, but who last Wednesday she agreed, and that was their one and only cuppa together. People world over will miss Mum. Her chesed was something amazing, but always with modesty. We are truly blessed how loved she was. Mum and Dad made Aliyah 21 years ago, and people have remarked about how wonderful it was to see them walking hand in hand along a promenade in Netanya by the sea. Every year, for the past 21 years in their home, my parents have hosted Purim Seudah, and as the family grew, so we brought in more tables. My son always thanked my parents, Bubba and Zadie, for this amazing spread and always said we should be blessed to be here next year. Last year, Mummy said, I will make Seudah until my dying day. She was an amazing mother, mother-in-law, grandmother to 6 beautiful grandchildren, a great-grandmother to 21 great-grandchildren, the oldest being 14 and the youngest born only last week, just before she was taken ill. She was the most dedicated wife to my father and in an outstanding way. We will miss her dearly. And from Simon and me, just a very, very little souvenir. In between all these responsibilities for the community, Phyllis and Michael always found time for their friends, and a little secret, they like to eat out, particularly in Israel. We once went with them to a restaurant in Netanya, the President in the square. They did not need the menu. The waiter said to them, your usual. Anyway, may I end, may her memory be for a blessing, and our love to all the family. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna, for that beautiful tribute. I'd like to call upon Rosemary Goodman. I'm going to unmute you if you'd like to unmute yourself, Rosemary. Where are you? Where's Rosemary? Rosemary, is your screen on?
We just had her. The screen keeps moving.
Rosemary, can you hear us? Yeah.
So that's unmute.
Rosemary, can you unmute yourself? I'm sending a request. I need to unmute first. Rosemary?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Do you want to put on your screen so we can see you?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No problem. Where's she gone now?
Am I there?
I'm trying to find you. Should be moving to the front. Trying to find. Can anyone tell me where Rosemary is?
Up the top.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Next to Anna.
Let me just pin you. Let me just
Add
make sure.
spotlight.
Add spotlight. There we go. Okay.
No.
No,
No?
it's not what we wanted,
No?
but it doesn't matter.
Wait, look over.
Okay.
Here, Rosemary. Here.
Hold on.
Wait.
Have you got me?
Move spotlight. 1 second.
1 second.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
now you-
Okay. There you go.
First of all, I must say that much of what I was going to say has already been said by other people, but nevertheless, I will say what I would like to, and I hope you'll forgive me if there's a duplication. I say, like many of us tonight, I have many memories of Phyllis, who was always linked to, in our minds, to her beloved Michael. Phyllis came from a very distinguished family. Amongst her uncles were the late Diane Lew and the late Rabbi Morris Lew, and she brought with her the familial legacy of charm, grace, and commitment to others. Phyllis was the ideal wife and supported Michael in everything he did for the shul. Phyllis was the message taker at the end of the phone, as in those days we didn't have mobiles. She even stood in as a temporary administrator in the shul office when we were between permanent staff in the 1980s. She happily sorted out problems, received monies, arranged bar mitzvahs and weddings, and many other things. Phyllis was so kind and reliable and could be depended on for anything. She quickly and quietly helped, amongst other things, ladies of the community who were experiencing family difficulties. She took under her wing the young brides who were new into the community and knew no one. I remember so many incidents in the life of the shul, mostly in the shul kitchen, of course, such as her rolling up her sleeves and busily preparing an enormous pot of cholent for some function. Another time, all hands on deck, we made about 600 fish balls between us. In those days, there was not the facility of buying in prepared food. And in her private life, her family was everything, and she could be seen looking after her girls, Angela and Rosalind, or going out shopping in North Finchley with her mother, Mrs. Weisvogel, who also lived near the Plaskows in Singleton Scarp. She did everything with a smile and was always there for everyone, apparently effortlessly, and made everyone feel important to her. On a personal note, I have to thank her and, of course, Michael for introducing me to my second husband. And certainly that took some persuasion on their part, as I had been quite content to remain a widow at the relatively young age of 50. However, that wasn't to be. I'd married. But for everyone, they were Woodside Park. It was their life. Even after they made Aliyah to follow their girls, they continued to keep in touch and were very happy to see us all in Netanya whenever we traveled to Israel. So I would like to wish all the Plaskow family my sincere condolences, and as we said, let their life have no more sorrow. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Rosemary. The last, but by no means least, I'd like to call upon Stephen Reichenbach to share some reflections. If you'd like to unmute yourself, Stephen. Okay, just wait whilst we spotlight. Okay, you're on.
I knew Phyllis for almost the whole of my life. My family connection goes back even further to when Phyllis's father, Mr. Weisvogel, was the officiant at my grandfather's shul in Kentish Town. The word that I would use to describe Phyllis is heart. Phyllis and Michael lived in Singleton Scarp, which was the heart of the community at Sussex Ring. I remember well how she would graciously entertain large gatherings of the community who they invited to their lovely home for Kiddush and their sukkah every year. I also remember having my bar mitzvah lessons at their home with Michael. One lesson was on the eve of Pesach. Michael wanted to show me how to burn the hummus, which he did. It was Phyllis who was quick off the mark in calling the fire brigade to stop their newly built garage going up in flames. For Phyllis, the community was in her heart. She was always supportive of Michael. They went well beyond what was expected and became the focal point of the community. They joined in all activities, lending support and encouragement wherever and whenever needed. Together with Angela and Rosalind, they were the perfect family. It could be said that Phyllis was in the hearts of the community. Over many years, generations came to love her and respect her. What a lovely lady, people would say about her. Phyllis touched the lives of so many and will be remembered fondly by all of us. We wish Michael, Angela and Rosalind a long life.
Thank you, Stephen. And thank you to everyone for sharing their reflections and eulogies this evening. I'm going to ask Steve Robbins, Cousin Robbins, to recite a Haskara, a memorial prayer. Steve, if you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
שוכן במרומים, אלו הסליחות חנון ברחום, ערך אפיים ברב חסד, המסך ברא לפשע, ברמת ישע, ומנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה. במחלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר נקיה, מסירים את נשמת ברת פגר רחל בת יעקב יוסף, שהלכה לעולמה. הנבל הרחמים זוכרה לה לטובה, כל זכרותיה וצדקותיה בארצו החיים. ופתח לה שערי צדק ואורה, שערי חמלה וחנינה. בסדר כנפיך רסתירך לעולמים. בצרור חיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, וינוח ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
Shkeach, thank you very much, Cousin Robbins. Friends, that brings us to the end of our memorial service in memory of Phyllis Plaskow, Fego, Rochel, Bas Yaakov, Yosef. Our thoughts and our prayers at this time are with the family, to Michael, to Angela, to Rosalind, to the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, to all the family. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you at this difficult time. May the light and inspiration of Phyllis, her kindness, her compassion, her love for the community, inspire us all to give and to live with greater care, consideration within our community and beyond. And in this way, may her memory be one of blessing. Amen. Thank you for joining us. We wish long life to all the family, and may we only come together for smachot, for joyous occasions. Amen.